Hue throws you right into a colorless world and expects you to bring that very color back, not unlike Gris by Namada Studios. The difference here being that you use the color to manipulate the world, and I gotta say, the simple hand-drawn art style with the changing colors actually looks quite breathtaking. A simplistic art style really works well with the overarching themes in the game. You don't want a lot of distracting details or muddled textures. You want to see the distinct colors and how they affect and interact with the world. This atmosphere is only enhanced through the soft and light piano score, which floods your emotions with sadness and hope for young Hugh on his grand adventure to understand the meaning of color and its place in his life. This is accompanied by more atmospheric music with reverberating frequencies that put you in a state of awareness and contemplation. The music very much complements the world in almost the same way that it does in The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Yeah, it's that good. The music and atmosphere of Hue really tell a story and kept me hooked to the very end. I was invested in this world, I cared about what happened to Hue, and I was genuinely intrigued about how we perceive color in the real world, and questioned that throughout the whole game. With indie games, I often don't expect much in terms of story, not because they are bad or anything, but because the games are lower budget and I expect them to spend more time on the gameplay and everything else second. That is not true here at all. The story is one of intrigue, mystery, and makes you question your own beliefs and how you see the world. I don't want to spoil too much about the story, but basically after you obtain each color, you are given more dialogue between Hugh and his mother to progress the story forward. Here is one such moment in the game.
When you enter a cave expecting a waterfall, the chances are your expectations will be met. But if you discard those expectations, don't you think instead the cave will be full of surprises? I ask for you, Hugh, to abandon your expectations, to pull me back from the brink of unreality. I need you to see the world not for what it is, but for what it can be.
So I've praised the story and presentation enough, but what about the gameplay? Does it hold up? The core element here is changing the background color to make objects appear or disappear to solve the endless rooms of puzzles with increasing challenge. For example, you see a block stopping your path, change the background to match it, and voila, the block disappears into the background. That is essentially the whole game. Obviously, there are other mechanics at play, pushing blocks, moving platforms, combining colors, collecting keys, paint buckets constantly changing colors of objects, and a whole slew of other things, but the core mechanic is changing the background to pass through objects. The difficulty curve for these puzzles was a bit too much for me, but nothing that really frustrated me. As you gain more and more colors, the puzzles naturally become more and more complex. The game only took me about 3 hours to complete the main story, so I went from completing rooms in 10 seconds at the very start of the game to very quickly finding myself walking into a room and saying, I literally have no idea what to do, and it would take me 30 plus minutes to clear it. That only really happened in a few rooms in the last section of the game though, so it wasn't really that big of a deal. You are also probably smarter than me, so don't worry, and some of those more challenging rooms will have multiple ways to complete them too. Also, I would often figure out one piece of the room quickly and be stuck on how to finish it, so I was constantly looking at puzzles backwards instead of forwards, which was a real challenge for me at first. Naturally, the middle of the game was the most enjoyable as the puzzles were just about right for me in terms of challenge and time to complete. I just would have preferred another level or two of training to really ease myself a bit more into the complex puzzles later in the game. I left Hugh with a better understanding of what color is and how it's all connected. I have a greater sense of awareness in how I perceive color now in the real world. But hey, if this is too deep for you, don't worry. The gameplay is solid and the game is pleasant to look at. E3 surely left us with a ton of games to go out and buy or save up for, but don't let Hue fall through the cracks. If you are looking for a shorter experience before the big time-sinking games come later in the year, Hue is perfect. If you want to go on an imaginative journey with a compelling story and challenging puzzles to complete along the way, don't pass this game up as it's yet another great indie you should experience on Nintendo Switch.